5 weeks, so we're bringing it home to an end here, based on a book that I have been reading, The 12 Conditions of a Miracle. So today is our final day to look at these 12 conditions in our lives. And so, remembering that these 12 conditions are really states of consciousness, really places that we go in our thinking, in our values, in who we are. That's what our consciousness is. Our belief system, our values, all that we are, our awareness. Everything that makes up who we are is our consciousness. So this was taught to us, and we're basing this on the book, by the master miracle maker himself, Jesus, in his classroom, which was the desert. It was the desert in this miracle. And so far we've looked at 10 conditions, and there are 12. And remember, this whole series is based solely upon the miracle of the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. That's in the Bible in Matthew. And from that, this Dr. Michael wrote a book, because he translated the Greek, which is so different, and very difficult. And he translated the Greek language to really get a deeper look at a code that was encrypted into this miracle that's in all 4 Gospels, by the way. So I'm going to start off with the words of Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind, Religious Science, when he said, "Jesus was unable to find a place where his being began and the being of God left off, or where the being of God began and he ceased to be." And that's like it is our continuum of unity. There is no place that God is and I am over here. It's all, this God self is within each and every one of us, because it's all this unified field of oneness that we speak of. And that's what we're deepening, is our belief in this oneness, our belief in our part in this oneness, that we are, and each one is worthy to be a part of this infinite life that is God itself. So I believe that consciously setting up these conditions, they're in your bulletin too, we'll go over that at the end, but setting them up is almost like mechanically 1, 2, 3, but that's what we do in spiritual mind treatment, which is our affirmative prayer. We learn how to do it. There is a technique in order to really get to the place where you can stand up here like Harold did and just do a spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer. Same thing. So there's a technique to creating miracles, and that's what we've been studying all month, fifth week of it. So I'm going to go through the passage real quick and then tell you each condition. When Jesus heard it, this is Matthew, when Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by boat, alone to a desert place. That's condition number 1, emptiness, place where we do meditation. And when the people heard of it, they followed him by land from cities. And Jesus went out and saw large crowds, and he had pity for them and healed their sick. That's condition 2, which the pity really means compassion, if you break that down. So the alignment with God is number 2, and that is the compassion. That's how we align with the love that is divine, through compassion in our own hearts. Compassion for ourselves and compassion for everyone. And so then, when it was evening, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a lonely place, and it is getting late. Dismiss the people, so that the men may go to the villages and buy food for themselves." But he said to them, "It is not necessary for them to go. Give them something to eat." That's condition number 3, the asking, the getting clear about the asking, what they needed and what we need in our lives. They said to him, I'm continuing the passage, they said to him, "We have nothing here except 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Jesus said to them, "Bring them here to me." Condition number 4, maximizing what we already have Being grateful and recognizing what gifts we have inside us, what we already have in our lives. And condition 5, which is giving. Like part of what Barry and Carol spoke of is in the giving we receive. And in the receiving, it's the continuous cycle of that law of circulation. You cannot have one without the other. They go together perfectly. Grounding in the power of the present moment, and he took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish, and he looked up to heaven. So that would be condition 7, which is seeing, turning away from the condition and turning to source, turning to the divine power of God. And bless them. And that's condition number 8, which is gratitude. No, we have to be grateful. We don't have to be, but it really serves us to be grateful. It's a high vibration, and it brings more of what we want into our lives. And he broke them, the bread, and gave them to his disciples, which is condition number 9, act as if it already is done. Act as if. And the disciples placed them before the people. That's in guess number 10, engaging the cycle. And that's a powerful roadmap. So far, that's where we're up to. So that is part of the roadmap of this miracle. This miracle. So condition number 11 is receiving. Receiving. It says in the formula for miracles in Matthew, it says this, and the disciples placed them before the people, so they all ate and were satisfied. Simple sentence. They all ate and were satisfied. Being a joyous, gracious, grateful receiver is an important part of this formula. Are we able to receive the good when it is given to us? Are we able to receive it? The people received, they ate, and they were satisfied. Are we satisfied when we can be satisfied? In her book on truth, New Thought pioneer Emily Cady wrote, "We all have direct access through the Father to the great whole of life, to love, to wisdom, to power. What we now want to know is how to receive more from the fountainhead, and how to make more and more of God manifest in our daily lives. The great need is to be a good receiver." If the people had refused to eat, the miracle could not have been performed. If they had not eaten the food, the miracle could not have been complete. If they had groused and complained about how they were going to get the bread and fish, it would have seemed hollow. Or if they had refused to receive because they might have thought that Jesus worked too hard and sacrificed so much they couldn't possibly accept, again, no miracle, no miracle. You must, Ernest Holmes talks about the gift is not complete unless there is a receiver. So it really serves us to deepen into our receiving mode and to be able to take in and say thank you, thank you. But none of that happened. None of that happened. The people ate. So they received the food, they ate it, and they were satisfied. How much good can we experience? As much as we can embody. Ernest Holmes says that all the time. As much as we can embody. That's as much good that we can experience in our lives. It's our thinking. It's our thinking. And our emotions. You line them up together and you get the powerful manifesting tool. We give and we receive. Again, that flow, that flow. We often think we are experts on receiving. You would think that that would be the easy part, to receive. That's the easy part for some people. Some people it's not. But the fact is we still have much to learn in this area. Doubt and fear often keep us from recognizing and gracefully accepting the gifts of the universe. Wow, that's a big one. Doubt and fear. We believe. And then this experience happens, and it's like we go right into that, fight or flight mode. We go into fear, and then we start to doubt. So this is the time we look to source. We align ourselves again. And here's another one, feeling worthy. Feeling worthy to receive is a huge deterrent. That worthiness aspect, who are you not to be worthy? Who are you not to be? You are a child of the divine. That's who you are, and that's what you must keep telling yourself until you really believe it, that you are more than worthy to receive all the gifts that the universe has to provide, and they're limitless. That you think it, you can achieve it. Just think it. So Dr. Todd Michael tells a story in his book that we're basing this on, The 12 Conditions of a Miracle, this is what he says. He declined to work at a certain ER, he was a medical doctor, because the recruiter was too pushy and seemed controlling. So he chose another one, which turned out to be a disaster. Hours were long, working conditions were miserable, co-workers were abrasive and difficult. After working there for over a year, he had the opportunity to take a single shift at the first ER. The regular doctor was ill, and the pay was double, and he really didn't want to do it, but since the monetary offer was so good, he did. And within an hour of arriving, he realized that this was by far the best ER for him. Working conditions were superior. The doctors and the nurses were friendly. Equipment and backup was superb. Even the pay was better. Within a week, he signed a contract, and this is a true story, and he worked there for 6 years. He wasn't able to receive the first time, even though his good was pressing on him. Sometimes the universe has got to smack us, whack us with that 2x4 before we get it. We pray for one thing, so we're planting a seed, and then we go and then we do something else because it's not safe, because of fear and doubt and the rest of it. So if you're praying for it and you're planting that seed, you're going to get it. You're going to get it one way or another. So I'm just saying, take a breath. Be able to receive. Be able to receive. Holmes tells us, God cannot give us anything unless we are in the mental condition to receive it. Edwene Gaines, very famous prosperity teacher, she has this great affirmation. I now allow myself to receive all that I have withheld from myself in the past. You say that, you're going to say it after me. And those writing it down. I now allow myself to receive.
I now allow myself to receive
all that I have withheld.
All that I have withheld
from myself in the past.
From myself in the past.
I allow myself to receive.
I allow myself to receive.
Okay. All that I have withheld.
All that I have withheld
from myself in the past.
From myself in the past.
Okay. Just take a deep breath and let that sink in as we move into the final condition number 12, which is recycling. It's an interesting. It's a great little book. It's not a big book, I have it with me. So if you want to borrow it, anyone, just let me know. So who plays or has, I was thinking Barry would be here for this, who has played or ever played golf, tennis, but I'm sure other people, tennis, baseball, stickball, handball, any of those? Yeah, okay. So each one of those activities has components. And there is one component of a swing that we often forget. We are so fixed on preparing for the swing with the right stance, the right wrist angle, the correct bend of the elbow. All of that goes into that technique of hitting the ball. But once we make contact with the ball, we think the job is done. Just hit a home run, done. Not so. not so. There is one final component that is just as important as all of the rest. Anybody know what it is?
Follow through. Follow
Wow,
through.
what a sharp yes! It's the follow through. Sometimes we forget that the same principle applies to the conditions in our lives. So when we receive, are we following through or just, okay, here it is, got it, and move on to something else? It's just as important as what happens after. What happens before and then what happens after. So Dr. Michaels writes, the flow of energy must never be abandoned once the dream becomes a reality. When the desired results manifest, a certain follow-through must take place. Like a good golf swing, this follow-through will add considerable power to your actions and greatly increase the accuracy of your intent. In Matthew, it's written, so they all ate and were satisfied, and they took up the excess of fragments, 12 baskets full. So Dr. Michael's looking at the original Greek word of excess can mean excess, but it also can mean, I like this one, a state of superabundance. Superabundance. Wow, there's so much, there's more than enough. Superabundance. Fantastic word. Fantastic word. When the conditions of a miracle are set in motion, the supply that manifests is so bountiful that it overflows. It moves into the state of superabundance. When this happens, there is more than enough for everyone. You've heard people say that you must have a lot of love in your heart and able to give it, to be able to give it away. And it's the same with any forgiveness or anything. You have to have it in the heart, and then it becomes so big and so much, it spills over naturally. It's the same thing with everything in our lives, with prosperity, with everything. So the point here in the recycling is that nothing was wasted. Nothing was wasted. And if we think about nature, so it's so beautiful, the way that she recycles everything, energy and resources with precise care. Animals use oxygen and produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Plants use this carbon dioxide as fuel and produce oxygen as a byproduct. Plants use decayed material in the soil and water as food. Animals eat the plants, grow larger, eventually they die. Their bodies are recycled once again through this process of decomposition. And once again become food for the plants. You see how even nature, this is the natural world. That's why it's beautiful to think of God as nature, because God is nature. It recycles. It's in that law of circulation. Anyone seeking to work miracles must honor this universal pattern. It's a pattern of recycling. This is accomplished by carefully recycling energy and resources that pass through our lives. And we all have things pass through our lives. If you do this, you will engage with the great cycle of the universe. And we know that when we're in alignment with the good of God, that's when all miracles, we call them miracles. There are no miracles in God. Really. It's the natural creation. But for us, and I like the word miracle, so for us, lots of times we say, that feels like a miracle. Oh, that was a miracle. You know, so it's a good thing. But there are states of consciousness that we've been going over in order to really clearly demonstrate and manifest these miracles in our lives. Establishing the 12 conditions of a miracle and he talks about this, it's like being a spinner with 12 plates. You get all the conditions, so you know all the conditions going at the same time in order to open the door to the miraculous. At first, this may seem impossible. It is far from easy to get all 12 things going at the same time. the task may seem out of reach. We talked about the impossible, it's just a belief. So we're going to start some new beliefs with what you have in your bulletin. Establishing and maintaining all 12 conditions simultaneously would be impossible if it were not for the good news. And the good news is you have the ability to form habits. This is really powerful, and I started using this with one aspect of my life. And just changing a habit, something new that you haven't done before, that you know once you do it, the universe was going to just through that law, give you back even more than you could ever imagine. So these positive habits, you can get some of those 12 plates to spin automatically. And that's what I was saying, automatically. With practice, this will leave you to pay attention to 3 or 4 of the conditions that might be more challenging for you. So the number of 12 are probably enough. Probably you're already doing a lot of these. If you take out, look in your bulletin and pull out that list. And this is for you to work on at home. I just gave you the list. You might want to copy it out and write at home if you really want to change the way your life is. This is a blueprint, if you will, in order for you to do this. So just take a look at those 12 and do a quick assessment. And like I say, you can do this at home. Which plates do you already have spinning, so to speak? Because some of them we already are doing. Perhaps you already have a rich and robust meditation practice. Excellent, then you put a check next to that. Perhaps you have a well-articulated vision for your life, and that's fantastic. Then you check number 3. Check, doing it. Do you write in your gratitude journal every day or some kind of gratitude practice? Check off condition number 8, gratitude. So reflect on each one. Just reflect on each one when you get some time and do an honest self-assessment. Really, because this work, and even if we just clear one out and it just moves us forward, then we can pull out and check that off in however long it takes before we can feel that we are doing it, forming a good habit. 21 days, right? 21 days and we have a new habit. So you'll feel good. You'll feel good about doing each and every one of these. And for the ones that you haven't checked, for today, begin to focus on them and see how you can change your habits and get all those plates spinning at the same time. And then as you master it over the next several weeks, you'll see that things start to shift and change in your life, and miracles will start occurring, what we call miracles. You have put yourself, by doing this work, in the consciousness of being a miracle worker. And that is what we are. We've been talking about becoming a master miracle worker. And in this way, you will experience the promise that the master teacher told us when he said, "These things and more you shall do as well. These things and more you shall do as well." And I know, I have faith in each and every one of us that we can. We can. We are. You already are miracle workers. That's all it is.